Testing one, two. can't find them.
Okay. You want to go take your bath?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's her name? Oh,
I love that.
I'm going to take another shot.
I'd like to thank everybody for your presence this evening. I do want to turn this over to Mr. Wagner in case he would like to say a few words before I begin.
I just wanted to thank Leela and especially Anne for offering this workshop, especially with the ongoing, shall we say, trepidation that we all have with FAFSA and the state of FAFSA. It's amazing to have Leela as a partner at the Willow School to help navigate us through. So thanks so much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. You'll have to excuse me. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm not using my best speaking voice, but we will continue on. Um, the first thing I want to talk to you about as far as the college financial aid process goes. Well, I'm having trouble here with my slides. Let me see what's going on. And we still have people entering. All right. So we are going to speak a little bit tonight about the college financial aid process, and it's important to know what your expenses might be. These are some expenses that you may incur. Of course, you will all probably incur tuition and fees. Some of you will be staying on campus, and that will include room and board, all of your books and school supplies, equipment and materials for your room if you're staying on campus, and then, of course, travel and other expenses. But the good news is that federal student aid does offer opportunities to apply for additional funding. You will see here on this chart all of the different opportunities that are available to you if you complete the FAFSA. Those opportunities are going to include the grant family, which include the Pell Grant, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity or FSEOG grant, service grants, and the TEACH grant. In addition to that, you will be considered for federal work study. These are on and off campus jobs that are available for you to apply for if interested. These look great on your first professional resume. So if you're going away to college and you are accepting a federal work study position, maybe in the financial aid office, you are going to be there perhaps for 4 years. That is 4 years of professional employment that you have to show on your FAFSA. So please consider federal work study. Now let's talk just a minute about the types of federal student loans. Of course, for students, there are direct subsidized and direct unsubsidized loans. The difference between the two of these is that the subsidized loans, of course, the interest is subsidized, which means that the federal government is going to waive the interest on these loans as long as the student is in school. Once he ceases to attend or graduates, interest will begin to accrue. The direct subsidized loan is for almost every student. These are not need-based loans as the subsidized are, and interest is going to begin to accrue on these loans while you're in college. We do often encourage students to pay off this interest. You can pay it quarterly. It's usually not an enormous amount, and it's best to do so if you can, because if not, your interest is going to be applied to the principal, and then you're going to be paying interest on that interest. There are Parent Plus loans that are available for parents who want to borrow on behalf of their student. A parent can borrow up to the cost of attendance. If you noticed on the prior chart, there are limits as to how much you can borrow. So your parent may want to get involved to help you pay your additional expenses. And then, of course, there are loans for graduate school. All of these monies can be used at 2- and 4-year colleges, community colleges, and technical schools for accredited online programs, and even for graduate school. Most colleges are going to have a priority financial aid deadline, so make sure you're checking with each of those institutions to find out when their priority financial aid deadline is. That means if you apply before that time, you will be first in line to be considered for federal student aid. Who can submit a FAFSA? Of course, U.S. citizens and U.S. nationals, those with a green card, an arrival departure record, those with battered immigrant status, and anyone with a T visa. Now, the first step you're going to want to take to complete the FAFSA is to create your federal student aid ID. This is your electronic signature, and the parent, one parent and the student need to create an account. Let's hear what federal student aid has to say.
Perhaps you're a student, parent, or loan borrower who needs to apply for financial aid, electronically sign your FAFSA form, or access other benefits on studentaid.gov. To take full advantage of all our resources and log into studentaid.gov, you'll have to first create an FSA ID. Your FSA ID gives you access to Federal Student Aid's platform and can serve as your legal signature. Your FSA ID is your account username and password. To prepare to create your FSA ID, have your social security number, mobile phone, and/or your personal email address handy. To start, navigate to studentaid.gov and select Create Account. Once you're on the Create Account page, select the Get Started button. If you are completing a FAFSA form and are considered a dependent student, keep in mind that you will need to create your own separate FSA ID using your own personal information. A mobile phone number, email address, and social security number can be associated with only one FSA ID. For helpful tips throughout the FSA ID creation process, select the question mark icons that display next to each field. Next, you'll create your username, enter an email address, and create your password. We recommend not using your school-based email address, since you will need to access your federal student aid account after you graduate. Make sure you don't include private information such as your name or date of birth as part of your password. Quick tip, remember, an email address can be associated with only one username and password. Next, enter your permanent address and mobile phone number. Indicate if you want to use your mobile phone for account access. We highly recommend this option, as it allows you to use your mobile for two-step verification and will help you access your account if you forget your username or password in the future. After selecting Continue, you'll be prompted to choose your communications preferences. On the Communications Preferences screen, select if you'd like to receive required communications from us via email or by postal mail. We recommend email. Besides the required communications, we'll occasionally send you informational communications about grants, student loan forgiveness, or income-based repayment plans you may qualify for. You can opt to receive these by email, text message, or both, or choose not to receive informational communications. You'll also have the option to select English or Spanish as your preferred language for the communications we send you. Next, you'll select 4 challenge questions and answers. Memorize or keep these answers in a safe place in case you need them to help access your account in the future. Choose a question using the drop-down and add your answer in the text box. Select Show Answer to see your answer as you type it. Your answers are not case-sensitive. You're almost there. On this step, you can review your information and confirm everything looks correct. If you need to make a correction, select the Edit button within that tile of information. After ensuring your information is correct, review and agree to the terms and conditions at the bottom of the screen. Now you'll add two-step verification to safeguard your account. Whenever you sign in, we'll send a secure code to make sure it's really you. You can choose whether you prefer email, text message, or an authenticator app. We'll begin with your phone number. Select the Verify button under SMS verification. You will automatically be sent a 6-digit secure code. At the same time, a pop-up window will open. Enter the code and select the Continue button. You'll see a green verified icon appear that tells you you're successful. Next, verify your email address. Select the Verify button. You will automatically be sent a 6-digit secure code. At the same time, a pop-up window will open. Enter the code and select the Continue button. You'll see the same verified icon, confirming that you verified your email. You'll also see a green box confirming that your two-step verification is ready to go. We also suggest setting up an authenticator app, which provides the most security of the two-step verification methods. Select Set up an authenticator app. A pop-up window will open. Follow the steps you see there. First, download an authenticator app from a mobile app store or use one you've already downloaded. Next, you can either scan the QR code with your authenticator app or copy your authenticator app. Then select Continue. Another pop-up window will appear. Enter the secure code generated by your authenticator app and select the Finish button. You've done it. Two-step verification is enabled. But what if you're in a situation where you can't use the other two-step verification methods? Don't lose heart. You can use a backup code. Your backup code is generated automatically when you enable two-step verification. Store your code in a safe place until you need it. Congratulations, you've successfully created your FSA ID. If you enter an email address, you will receive a confirmation email. Make sure you note your username and password and keep them in a safe place. You can begin using your account immediately, but it will take 1 to 3 days for your information to be verified by the Social Security Administration. Some of your actions in the site will be limited until your information is verified. However, with your newly created FSA ID, you can immediately complete and sign a first-time FAFSA form. You can also use your FSA ID to access your dashboard, review your loan balance, and explore additional dashboard features. You are now able to take control of your federal student aid journey and access all studentaid.gov has to offer.
So as I mentioned, everyone needs an FSA ID, the student, and one or perhaps more, both of his parents. Now, mom or dad, if you have already created an FSA ID for an older child, you do not need to create a new ID. That is yours for life. But we would encourage you to log into that ID and make sure that everything is updated, your contact info, so that when you begin the student's FAFSA, you will not have any issues signing. As I mentioned, you will choose 2 ways to verify yourself. The email address is mandatory, but then you can use your mobile phone or the Authenticator app for the second mode of verification. If you're going to gather all of the documents that you need to complete the FAFSA itself, it should really only take you about 20 to 30 minutes to complete the entire process. And those documents are going to include your Social Security card or permanent resident card, because your name has to be entered when you're creating your FSA ID using the name printed exactly as it's stated on these cards. You will need your 2023 federal income tax return and W-2s, and a list of all of your accounts, including investment accounts that were set up for education purposes, any cash, checking, savings accounts, money market accounts. You will need the balances of these accounts as of the date you submit your FAFSA. You will go directly to FAFSA.gov or studentaid.gov and start the 25-26 FAFSA. Now, many of you are aware, some may not be, that the FAFSA did open yesterday. It is still in the beta process, but they've been so successful weeding out any issues that might occur this year that they are now opening it up for everyone. Let's begin with the student. So the student wants to begin the process. She will enter her username and password and identify her role as the student. She'll review the information on the student identity section. This is exactly what the student has listed in their FSA ID. So if you see that you need a change or you need to update something, please do so before you continue. You'll be asked about your state of legal residence and the date you became a resident of that state. And right off the bat, you'll be asked to provide consent to have the IRS transfer your income tax information into the FAFSA itself. Everyone must complete this step who is interested in receiving federal student aid. Even if you did not file a return in 2023, you must provide consent to have FAFSA check on that. You'll be shown that they are importing your information, which is great news, or you could receive a word that they could not download your information. If that is the case, you will be asked to manually enter that using your 1040. You'll move on into the personal circumstances section, where the student will be asked about his marital status, his college plans. And I want to point out that even if you have clumped out of courses, you participated in dual enrollment courses, taken AP courses, you still should list first-year freshmen if you have not received federal student aid in the past. Next, you'll be asked to answer a series of questions to determine whether you are independent of your parents or dependent upon them. In these questions listed here, I'll go over quickly. Is the student currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces, or is he a veteran of the Armed Forces? Does the student have children who will live with him and receive more than half of their support from that student? At any time since the student turned 13, was he an orphan, a ward of the court, in foster care? Was he legally emancipated, or is he in legal guardianship as determined by a court in the state of Louisiana? If you can answer one of these questions and give it a check mark, then you will be considered an independent student and you will not have to provide information about your parents. If you cannot answer yes to one of those questions, you will continue on. Are you homeless at any time on or after July 1st of 2024? Were you an unaccompanied youth or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless? Do you have some unusual circumstances? Perhaps you can't say yes to one of the prior dependency status questions, but you still cannot get information from your parents themselves. You'll move on to your personal circumstances, where you'll be asked about your marital status, and you'll be asked about your students, your parents' information. Are they married to each other? Are they separated or divorced? You will be taken through a series of questions about your parents to determine which parent should be contributing to your FAFSA. At this time, you'll be asked to invite that parent or those parents to contribute. You'll be asked for your parents' first name, last name, their contact information, email address. And if your parent is, if your parents have filed separately their 1040 form from 2023, then you will add your other parent. Who's considered a parent contributor? Of course, you can see here, it's laid out for us. If they have never been married, unmarried, but they live together, both married, or remarried, or divorced, or separated. If you happen to live with grandparents or other relatives, but they do not have legal guardianship of you, you do not want to enter information about any other people other than your legal parents. You'll move into the student demographic section where you will answer questions, or you can prefer not to answer these personal questions about yourself as the student. You'll be asked about your citizenship status, your parents' education status, and many students and parents will ask why they're asking this information about the parents. There could possibly be additional financing or funding for first-generation college students. So be cautious when you're answering this question. If your parent was killed in the line of duty, either serving in the U.S. Armed Forces on or after the events of 9/11, or performing official duties as a public safety officer, you could be eligible for additional aid. You'll then answer questions about your high school completion status, the name of the high school that you will graduate, and you'll move on to the financial section of the student's FAFSA. There are still a few manual questions that you must answer. If you're unsure about what these items are, there should be a question mark over to the right-hand side of each field. You can expand that to get a better idea of exactly what your situation is. You will then be asked to provide information about your assets. What is the balance of your checking and savings account? How much cash do you have on hand? What are your current net worth of investments, including real estate, but not your family home? And then if you have businesses or investment farms, you'll be asked to report the current net worth. Next, you will move on into the college and career school selection section, where you can add up to 20 schools. Now, federal student aid is not going to send out all of your information to every college across the country. You have to give them permission to do so, and you can add up to 20 at a time. If you are applying to more than 20 schools, you will want to submit your FAFSA with the first 20 schools selected. Once it's processed, you can go back in, delete those 20 schools, add another 20, and so on. You can see here that the student has selected his college. It grabbed the federal school code that the FAFSA will be sent to. And then it's almost time to sign and submit the FAFSA. But before you do that, please use the drop-down arrows to the right of each section to make sure that the information you provided is correct. This way, your financial aid administrators will have all correct information. You will not have to make corrections and resubmit your FAFSA at a later date. This is a legal document and it is binding, so make sure that you are reading through this disclosure. It's basically letting federal student aid know that you have entered information to the best of your ability. Then you'll want to go ahead and agree and sign. You can see here that you've already submitted the student section of the FAFSA, and you're told that your contributor has been sent an invitation to participate. You'll find additional tips on what to do once the FAFSA is submitted. You'll always want to review your FAFSA submission summary. That is a list of every question you were asked and your answer to each, just to make sure that everything is correct. In the meantime, your parent or your contributor will receive an invitation asking them to contribute to your FAFSA, telling them why it's important that they do so. They will then enter their username and password. They will be shown that they have an outstanding invitation and accept that invitation to contribute. You can see this information is shown as it was in the student section. So mom or dad, make sure that your information is correct too, and don't continue if there's something that's incorrect. Parents will also provide consent for federal student aid to grab your information from the IRS and drop it directly into the FAFSA. If the parent refuses to do this process, then the student will no longer be eligible for federal student aid. You'll receive word that they are attempting to grab your information from the IRS, and they're going to import it exactly where they would like it. And then you'll move on into the parent demographic section. The parent will be providing information about their current marital status, their state of legal residence, and move on into the financial section. You will be asked if you received or participated in any of these federal benefit programs. If you have, just give those a check. You can check more than one. Please check all that apply to you and continue. They want to know if your family's size is different from the number of individuals claimed on your 2023 tax return. So this is a situation where the student is going to, by using the questions that were previously asked of him, the parent is going to be the person that provided the student with the most financial support in the past 12 months. So if your parents are married and living together, or living together and not married, they will provide information on both. If they filed married jointly, then you'll be choosing that income tax return for that parent. And the family size should still be the same. If it has changed since 2023, you can manually adjust that. If you're in a situation where you live with one parent, but the other parent provides you with the most financial support and does not live with the family, and perhaps that parent did not list you as a dependent on their income tax returns, you will want to manually adjust that family size as well. You'll be asked about the parents' number of students in college, and then begin answering questions about their income from 2023. As I mentioned, if you're not quite sure what these items are, you can always use the arrow to the right-hand side of each field to give a better explanation of what to report here. The parent should be reporting all of the child support received within the last complete calendar year. So this is not child support that you were asked to pay. This is what was actually paid to the other parent. You will list your assets, your current cash, savings, and checking account balances, the current net worth of investments, including real estate, but not your family home. And then, of course, the current net worth of businesses and investment farms. Many people will get a bit confused with these two sections, these two questions. but please use the question mark over to the right-hand side of the field. It will be a wealth of information to you. I have listed here what federal student aid considers the current net worth of businesses and investment firms. And I'm not going to read it out to you this evening, but I am going to provide Mr. Wagner with a copy of this presentation so you can take a closer look. Next, it's time for the parents to review and sign and submit. So yet again, please use the drop-down boxes to expand these sections where you can see every question you were asked and your answer to them, and you can make updates if needed. You will also agree to the terms that federal student aid has set forth, stating that you have provided information to the best of your knowledge, and then you'll sign and submit the FAFSA. But where does the FAFSA information go? Once it's submitted, your information is going to be shared with the college financial aid offices at every school that you listed on your FAFSA. They will begin to take a look at your data and start working on a financial aid offer for you. They're trying to calculate your school's net price. So they will know your cost of attendance. They will be looking for any grants and scholarships available on their campus, or federal aid or private aid as well that you've been awarded. And they will determine the net price or the amount that you will be responsible for paying for that one academic year. Now, all financial aid offers do not look the same, but they should all show the student's cost of attendance, which are going to include his, you can see here, his tuition and fees, meal plans, books and supplies. You'll move down to the grants and scholarships. They'll list what they believe you are eligible for on their campus. And then they'll offer you student loans to make up that net price. This will give you a good idea of how much you're going to have to come out of pocket from each of the schools that you have applied to. You always want to accept your financial aid in this order. Of course, grants and scholarships are free money. You do not have to repay that. Federal work study is earned money that you have already earned, so that does not have to be repaid. So be very cautious with your student loans. These have to be paid back and with interest. So parents, have a good conversation with your child about what a loan is so that they are able to make good decisions. This information is not always provided to the parents. This goes directly to the student. So make sure that your students feel comfortable sharing the info with you so that you can advise them along the way. This is prime time to start to look for scholarships. I know many of you at Willow have been looking. Mr. Wagner's probably pushing all that information out to you as he receives it. He is your best resource. But other resources could include your institution that you're applying to, private companies, nonprofit organizations like Leela, local businesses, community organizations, social groups. All these are great resources for additional aid to help you pay for your college career. Leela is offering a $1,000 FAFSA completion scholarship this year. It is a monthly drawing. If you enter, your name will stay in our database throughout the senior year, and you will have many times to be selected for this scholarship. If you haven't yet completed your FAFSA, you can always apply now. And then once you're selected, you will have to provide us with proof that you submitted your FAFSA. For those of you who are planning to go to an in-state college, of course, we want to keep you here in the state of Louisiana. We offer an additional $1,000 scholarship. So please enter that drawing as well. If you need additional financial aid, Leela does administer a nonprofit education loan program. It's called Leela Choice, and it's only for Louisiana residents. So students who are staying in Louisiana and going to school here in state can participate. And those who are Louisiana residents, but they're going away to college, we can also fund those loans. You can see right now that our Parent Plus loan is way below even the federal Direct Plus loan rate. So please do your homework and check with all your other lenders and check your with federal student aid and choose the loan with the lowest interest rate. We've published again this year our FAFSA completion guide. I have a feeling that Mr. Wagner has already distributed those to you. If you would like an electronic copy, I'm happy to send that over to you as well. I also want you to take a look at this senior checklist to get an idea of what needs to take place every month for you to be ready for college in the fall. Lots of links to scholarships and other opportunities, ACT, SAT if you're sitting for those. But please keep this up to date and you won't be stressed out when summer arrives. Again, my name is Ann Carmichael. We do offer free virtual college financial aid sessions. These are via Google Meet. We're on the line with you for as long as you need us. If you want us to help you create your FSA ID and then begin the FAFSA, the student section of the FAFSA, and then maybe mom and dad can join in and we can get it finished up in one session. Or if you want to jump in and try it yourself, but you have questions, you can always call our FAFSA helpline. And here's my email address in case you want to communicate with me about specific situations. Does anybody have specific questions that they would like to answer tonight? Or is there anything that I mentioned that wasn't clear? Please drop those in the chat box. All right, here's a student who's applying early decision to a school. Let me go back up. Are we able to add additional schools after that decision has been made, or should we back up schools, or should backup schools be added early? I would encourage you to add all of the colleges that you're planning to apply to, whether you're, they're in your top 10 or your bottom 10. Just add each of those schools, and that way the financial aid office knows that you've got your FAFSA data to them soon, and they will have you in order. In other words, these FAFSAs are date stamped. So the financial aid office can see that you applied early, you sent their FAFSA data over early to them, and they will consider you in that order. That's right, Mr. Wagner. The F in FAFSA is for free. Do not pay anyone to complete the FAFSA for you. There are plenty of free resources out there, so please take advantage of those. Can you receive aid from both FAFSA and CSS? Yes, you can. And the CSS profile is a little bit more intense than the FAFSA. So if your schools are requiring the CSS profile, I think it's a great idea and you could receive additional financial aid. Have you all had a CSS profile session yet? Are work study jobs available in all schools or only bigger schools? Federal student aid is available at most every college that participates in the federal program. So be sure you're checking with your financial aid office. They are the ones who will administer work study, and that would be a good question. and good to know when you're considering colleges. Is TOPS included in FAFSA? The TOPS scholarship can be initiated by the FAFSA because if you're planning to complete the FAFSA, the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance receives a list of everybody in the state of Louisiana who has completed the FAFSA. And if they are eligible for TOPS, that is all they need as far as an application goes. If you choose not to complete a FAFSA, you will want to go onto the TOPS website and fill out a manual TOPS application. Let's see if I missed anything. You're very welcome, and know that we're here to help you. And Mr. Wagner, if you have not had a CSS profile presentation yet, I would highly recommend Mr. Roland Keller at Tulane University. And if that's something your families would be interested in, I'm happy to make that connection with you. If you want to speak to me about something on an individual basis, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to help. Also, don't forget, this is a QR code for the sessions that we are now scheduling. And as I mentioned, the FAFSA opened yesterday morning. So many of you may have already gotten started. If you haven't, schedule a session and we'll be happy to get that over and done with. I want to thank you all for having me. And I hope you have a very good experience with the FAFSA this year. We understand that it's a much smoother process. Let's see, I have a couple more in the chat. All right, I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to close out for now. But Mr. Wagner, I'm going to pop in Mr. Roland Keller's email address here. If I can find it. You know what? I'll just email it to you directly. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. I appreciate your attention.